You're tuned in to the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. Powerful ideas to rock your restaurant. Here's your host, Roger Bodwin.
Welcome, Restaurant Rockstars. This is the Rock Your Restaurant podcast, engaging topics that help restaurants build their brands, rock their profits, and deliver amazing guest experiences. Thanks once again for tuning in. You know, I am so often amazed at how many restaurants are running restaurants and not businesses. And what do I mean by that? Well, I work with lots of restaurants in consulting, and I was on the board of directors of the Maine Restaurant Association for a number of years, and whenever I came across a restaurant, I would ask them this question: what business are you in, and what are your products? Now, that sounds like a trick question, but actually, here's where I'm going with this. Most of the time, as you would imagine, their answer is, well, I'm a restaurant owner or manager, and my products are food and drink. Well, the difference is this. When I was in the restaurant business, I was not in the business of running a restaurant. I was in the business of running a business, and my products were entertainment and consistency, and there's a huge difference there. And I call that a paradigm shift. So I'm all about systems and efficiencies in running restaurants. So today I'm speaking with Mark Haidet, who's the CEO of a really cool and innovative company called Orderly. Now, they provide back-of-house inventory systems, ordering systems, and we're going to talk all about the power of these systems and what they can do in your business to save time and add efficiencies that more than pay for these systems. So let's jump in. Thanks, Mark, for joining me today. How are you?
I'm great, Roger. Thanks for having me.
Well, fantastic. So, Mark, I owned restaurants for 20 years, and I was all about creating systems and efficiencies. And if only I had known about this product a couple years ago before I actually sold my restaurants and what they could have done to my business. That's why I'm so excited to have you today, because your company has a really powerful collection of products that really automate and help these managers and owners free up their time, and it really makes everyone's life easier. So can you first tell us what your restaurant background is, how you got into this business, and where Orderly's going, what it's all about, and then we'll talk about the products in a few minutes.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've been around the area of helping businesses improve my whole career. I started out in consulting, went to a company called Radiant Systems, which is a company that had Aloha, point of sale, menuing back office, various other SaaS-based products that helped restaurants improve. I was there for about 15 years. We sold the company to NCR in 2011. About that same time, I was crazy enough, like you, to own a few restaurants and get engaged in a fast casual restaurant in Atlanta, a full service restaurant in Atlanta, and I've made investments in a few others, and got a whole lot more intimate with the day-to-day challenges of the restaurant industry, particularly the independent operator, and started to feel some of the pain of the lack of tools and techniques and processes that my team had. And as I talked to more and more of my restaurant friends, found out that it was really just the way things were done in the independent restaurant industry. Everything was very manual, phone calls, paper, clipboards. It seemed crazy to me, coming from a corporate public company background, that this is the way we ran a business, and felt like I should do something about it. Looked for some companies to invest in, didn't find anything, and was fortunate enough to have a few partners that were also executives at Radiant that put money into really trying to solve an industry problem.
So you've really got a great background that gives you the full perspective in the trenches, you know, where these restaurant owners and managers are really coming from. Plus, you've got the technology side, so I can clearly see the benefit and how you could apply that technology to their problems. So that is so cool. Let's talk about some of these tools that you have. Because let's face it, paperwork in a restaurant is everyone's biggest nightmare. The chefs hate it, the managers hate it, and I might even go so far as to say the bookkeepers hate it, but maybe that's not the case. But nonetheless, you have a free app to eliminate all the paper in a restaurant. So let's talk about that product first.
Yeah, sure. So we call it Orderly Snap app, and it's a simple tool that we give to restaurants for free to help them kind of get started with improving their business. So it starts with, they can basically have an online filing cabinet. Instead of the boxes and boxes of invoices that are stuck around the restaurant and chasing down paper, they simply snap a picture of an invoice at the door when it comes in. You know, if they've scratched out an item because it was returned or not good, That's fine. It's all in the picture. They can think of it as kind of a Dropbox or cloud storage for their invoices, except we go a step further and we've already got the supplier on it. They add the invoice number, total dollar amount. So now they've got electronic invoices that they can search, they can pull up, they can share with their accountant. They don't have to move around from location to location. And we can provide summary reporting off that based off total spend by supplier. They can assign a category to a supplier and get some high-level spending reports. So that's kind of step one, and that's a free product because we think it's important for restaurants to start to get control of their operations, right? And to start to get some basic information and get rid of some of the heartache and pain of paper. And then we take it to the next level, and for kind of our base level solution, which is a paid product, $100 a month, we take and connect with their suppliers. So if they have an electronic interface with the supplier, we can go get that and do an EDI connection or other connections where we pull it into a central database. And where they don't, they've got a local produce supplier or protein supplier. We'll take that photograph that they took of the image and of the invoice in the Snap app, and we'll input all the line items. So our goal is we get 100% line item detail for all the restaurant's food spend. So they get great, rich reporting on price trends, on category spend. We take them completely out of the loop with dealing with spreadsheets and data input. And in fact, we take their accountant out of the loop of having to do that. We deliver them a file. We already tag everything with a category. The restaurant sets up kind of a GL code by category, and we provide an export to their accountant and even to their accounting system, which takes all the invoices, GL coded automatically, and provides it to them. So you think of all the work that you've dealt with over the years of taking an invoice, hand coding it, sending it to a bookkeeper. They're entering stuff in manually. You're reviewing it. Correct. We get rid of all that, and what we deliver is you take a picture, we give you great reports.
Well, the world is certainly going paperless, and I do remember those years where my file cabinets were overflowing, and some of these food invoices were like, 10 pages long. And it doesn't take long to fill up the files, and then you got all this paper to deal with. So that is just amazing, and I can't imagine why anyone wouldn't want to jump all over that. So besides that, one of the biggest ways I saved money on my food costs was shopping suppliers. And I worked with three of the big three, and it doesn't really matter who you work with, but it's definitely a powerful system if you can compare pricing, if you're buying comparable goods and services, if you can get those prices. So you have a product for that as well, don't you?
Well, we take that data flow that I talked about and we build products on top of it. So, step one is get data for the restaurant that they typically haven't had before. And then step two, we can do a lot of great things with that. So on the ordering product, we can start at a very baseline, which is just, hey, let's just take your historical purchases and your invoice data, and let's know the trend of that. And let's understand where you're spending your money. What are the big items you ought to be talking to your supplier about? What are the items that maybe you single source that you ought to look at other suppliers? Items that have the price has a lot of volatility or has gone up quite a bit. That's going to lead to a conversation with your supplier. So step one, any restaurant, regardless of volume, can do this. Get your data, understand the price trends, use that to talk with your supplier. Even if you only have one supplier, you should have a weekly or monthly discussion going over all your price trends. Talk to them about, can I get a rebate? Can I get a price break? Do I need to switch brands of this? And if they don't have good answers for you, find another supplier. Talk to them. Get answers from them. They want your business. Now you can tell them exactly what you buy, how much you buy, the quantity, and they can quote you on it. Restaurants like you that perhaps had a higher volume and had the ability to have multiple suppliers, you can get price quotes in. You can put them into the system. You can have that data in real time as you're placing orders, and that can provide a tremendous amount of value. What we find is we have to help a lot of operators walk before they can run. Yes. And just get a handle on what you're spending today and have a conversation with your supplier. Don't go out tomorrow and try to price compare with 3 or 4 suppliers if you don't even have a handle on what you're doing today. So we walk them through that process, give them the tools, and when they're ready to get more advanced, they can do that.
That is a very good point. And it really is about understanding this basic concept that your suppliers are working for your business, and don't ever forget that. And you do have leverage. So it all starts with information. And once you've got a good grounding in what that information is and what your needs are, then they should work for your business. They should earn your business. And yes, it does become all about relationships, but don't forget price and quality are very important too. So I really love that tool. I think that's terrific. When I did this,
and I'd say one thing that's important is it is a relationship, and quality and delivery and all those things matter.
Right.
But in no relationship should you be the one without any information. And today, the distributor has all the information, and the restaurant tends to not have any. And if they do have any, it's because they work their ass off to keep up with an Excel spreadsheet that's probably not 100% accurate all the time. So our goal is, hey, let's just get you that data as simply and quickly as possible. And now it's an even playing field. And you can have that relationship of equals, not as the haves and the have-nots.
Now, when you get a relationship going with Orderly, if I'm a restaurant manager or an owner, and we start a relationship, and I bring some of these services into my restaurant, now, is there a relationship I have with an account manager that walks me through all this stuff and helps me set things up and get those initial systems in place?
Sure, yeah. So, we love to really walk the restaurant up the value chain, right? So we want to start them simple, and our whole mantra is really to help them master the simple habits of success. So it's not about, can we sell you a product? I've got some great salespeople. They could sell you a product, and you could pay them some money, and kind of in the state of the way the industry is today, typically you pay them some money up front, and they may disappear. You may never get the value. So one, it's fundamental to understand that we charge on a monthly basis. So if you're not getting the value, you don't pay us, right? So it's incumbent on us to make sure you're using the product, not buying the product, right? So we want people to use the product. That's why we start with a free product. Start using it.
Good idea.
Make sure it works for you. Then let's add to it the data flow. Let's add inventory. Let's add ordering. And along the way, we obviously have online help, and we've got a tool that we think is pretty simple to use, but we have a onboarding person whose job is the restaurant's success. So they keep up with them. They hound them about doing their work and getting things set up. There's not a ton of work the restaurant has to do, but our job is to make sure they do that work, and we follow up with them. So yeah, we're going to be a little bit irritating because we want you to get value out of our solution, because we both have to be successful. For us to both be successful, the restaurant has to use our technology.
Yeah, systems are really only as good as the execution. And yes, it does take a little bit of homework up front. But then once you've done that work, think of all the time. And your time is so valuable in a restaurant. I call it the business of 1,000 details, because there's so many things that you want to stay on top of. And if you can eliminate hours a week with these systems, why wouldn't you want to spend a little time up front just to put them in place? So key point there, Mark. That's great. So one other thing, one of the ways that you can really truly understand what your food cost is from an accurate basis is taking a regular inventory. And I've always recommended that restaurants, if they're just starting out a new business, that you take that inventory every single week for at least 2 to 3 weeks, just to make sure that you're in your target range and that you have stability. And then once you've got that food cost that you're comfortable with, then you can go to a monthly inventory. But even so, it's a really cumbersome process that a lot of restaurants just shy away from. And I'm really amazed at how many restaurants just don't take regular inventory. So you've got a task for that as well, or a system for that.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, inventory is a great tool to really manage your operations. And what we found is it's a highly underutilized tool because it's a pain, right? People don't want to do it. There's a lot of, you're running around the restaurant. You've got typically a clipboard and a piece of paper. You're writing stuff down. Then you're going to type it into a spreadsheet. Then you got to go find your invoices and find your latest price and put that information in there. No one likes it, right? And so then they don't want to do it. So then they push it to a monthly or annual or never type exercise, and they really lose out on the value. So our whole goal here was make it as simple as possible to really create that habit. And if we can make it easy, maybe even a little fun by doing it on a phone and making it cool and techy, then we can build that habit at the restaurant and they can get that value. So with our tool, we take all this great data that we've captured through our process that I talked about earlier, and that's sitting there, ready for you to take an inventory. So you don't have to think about what items do I have. I know every item you purchased. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is tell me what order you want to count them in. So you just plop them into a location that you set up in your restaurant, walk through with your phone, count the quantities that are there, And we've got all the data in the background that matches up your latest price, does the valuation. Actually, once you complete the inventory, it kicks off reports and emails it to a distribution list, so they have an immediate report.
Beautiful.
As soon as that inventory is done, and by the way, if you don't do the inventory, you get an immediate alert that no inventory was done. So if you're supposed to take it by Sunday at 10, we give a few extra hours of leeway, but then we kick off an alert that says, hey, nobody did an inventory tonight. So that the owner or the manager knows there's been a fall down in process, and maybe they have to do that first thing Monday morning before operations start and deliveries come in. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for the restaurant to kind of keep up with things and not get caught up in the day-to-day and use these tools. So once they take the inventory, they know their cost of goods sold. We send that to the accountant. It's got the cost of goods sold by GL category, so no work required there. But more importantly, now I have a record of my usage by ingredient and my inventory on hand by ingredient. So I can tell you, hey, you probably don't need 72 days of calamari in the freezer.
Absolutely not, yes.
By ingredient, I can understand, based on my usage, how much am I carrying? So now if I want to put PARs in place,
beautiful.
If I want to manage my ordering, I've got a tool to do that with facts. And, one other thing I'll just say, a downfall of a complicated process, when we went out and met with restaurants, we found a lot of restaurants that there was a lot of guesstimating going on with inventory, both on prices and, and quantities, and that just undermines value, right? So we've got 100% actual, 100% real data that you can really rely on and understand what's happening with your business, how much you're using, what your true cost is. We run a quick, cost of goods sold as a percentage of sales report, which is kind of the key metric for everybody. And even when you don't do inventory, we run a cost of goods, kind of a food spend as a percentage of sales, which kind of gives you an idea of what you're spending versus your sales. And then, of course, when you take inventory, that's a more accurate view of that same metric.
So I'm seeing two really powerful things here. I'm seeing a streamlined process and accuracy. So critically important. So now we're talking inventory, ordering, and invoicing. All can be done now from a phone or a tablet, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And and that's kind of the point, because we do want to build habits. Technology has to be with you, right? We don't want to be a quote-unquote back office system, because we don't want you in the back office, right? You don't want your guys back there.
No.
You want them out front with customers.
Correct.
And when they're walking through the kitchen, they ought to be able to pull out a phone, grab a tablet, their laptop if they want, and do what they want to do. If they're at home and they remembered, shoot, I got to place an order for tomorrow, do it at home, right? Get the job done when you can get the job done. So technology has to be with you. We built everything to be very mobile, phone, tablet, laptop, computer. It's at whatever form factor you're comfortable with.
Fantastic. So I'm very passionate about this business, and I can tell that you are too. And one of the points of this podcast is to really help my listeners identify those cutting-edge companies that really have these powerful systems and products that'll save them time and money. So I'm behind Orderly all the way. How many restaurants are you serving now?
Well, we've got well over 1,000 using the Snap app, which is great. It gives them a lot of value. We've got more than 300 using our operational apps that help them do inventory, ordering, and invoice management. We're adding customers literally every day, 10 and 20 a week. And so we love seeing the adoption. We love the fact that we can provide something so impactful at a really economical price. So, for $100, you can get out of the data entry business and get information you've never had before. For $150, you can do your inventory painlessly and save, 80% of the time it would have taken you to do your inventory, and you can actually do it right. And you can do the whole kit and caboodle for, $250 and do ordering, inventory, get everything in place, in one place, and be able to run your business professionally as a business.
So you're providing options here. You've got the free Snap app just to get started. That'll give you a really good taste. Now, you also have a free demo. Is that correct?
Yeah, sure. You can come to, to get the app, I'd encourage anybody to go to Orderly Snap app, on the web store, not the web store, the Google store or Apple, and just download it. You can go to a webpage, orderlysnapapp.com, or you can just go to our standard webpage, getorderly.com, and schedule a demo. Our guys will walk you through all the features of the system, and more importantly, how to use it to really impact your business. It's not about features. It's about how do how do I make more money in my business and run more professionally tomorrow? And we do a quick demo. We get data in the system very quickly. As soon as they start snapping pictures, we get data flowing in the system. And literally within days, and I don't think anyone else in the industry can say this, within days, we can get value to restaurants. We can get them information they don't have. We can get them tools that save time. And it's not a weeks or month kind of process they have to go through.
So that's exactly what I'm talking about when I say, are you running a restaurant or are you running a business? And getorderly.com is where you're going to get all these tools to help you run a business, not just a restaurant. So Mark, it was super great having you today. You've given our listeners lots of ideas of how they can simplify, systemize, add more power to what they're doing, free their time, and yes, save money. And these solutions are proven to save these restaurant owners money, and they pay for themselves over a short amount of time. So thanks for joining me, Mark.
Well, thank you, Roger. Appreciate it. A lot of fun. I appreciate what you do to educate restaurants and help them, and hope we can talk more in the future.
Well, rock stars, there you have it. Once again, the website is getorderly.com. Thanks so much, Mark. Take a few minutes to get that free demo. Check out the Snap app. I think it's a really powerful tool. It's well worth your time. That's the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. For lots of great resources, head over to restaurantrockstars.com. And while you're there, download a copy of the book, Rock Your Restaurant. It's a game changer. See you next time.